there's a lot of anxiety and fear surrounding the coronavirus outbreak here at home. But one local traveler is sharing her story about her first experience with the outbreak thousands of miles away from LA. I'm joined right now via FaceTime by Christine Lee. You're a travel journalist based here in LA. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We're so curious. So you got back from Prague last Thursday. You were there about a week. That was sort of when things really turned in terms of the response to the outbreak. So what was that like for you?
Well, I mean, when we first got to Prague, there were only 3 people who were confirmed to have had the coronavirus in Czech Republic. And less than a week later, when we left, there were over 100. And so on that Thursday, early morning, 3 a.m., I mean, imagine being woken up. My husband woke me up. And he was like, I think we need to leave, like, right now. I looked at my phone, and I got missed calls, messages from family and friends telling me that there was just a travel ban announcement made where starting at midnight on Friday, and at the time I didn't know midnight when, at the start of Friday or at the end of Friday,
right.
That everyone may not be able to leave Europe. So we were not told at the time that U.S. citizens were exempt. So all we were told was that overnight, there was an announcement made that pretty much said, if you're in Europe, you're going to be stuck there for at least 30 days if you don't leave right away.
Right. How crazy would that be, right? So much life would be missed. So you had a ticket for a later date and you had to move it up. And what was that process like?
Yeah, so we had a ticket to come back on Friday morning, and because we didn't know when that midnight started at the time, we had to rebook new tickets. Luckily, we had travel points that I was able to redeem and get. Otherwise, it would have cost us $1,400 a piece.
Wow. And so was there a lot of anxiety as you're traveling through the airports, getting to the airport in your flight? What was that like?
Oh my goodness, like when we called the Uber, we were waiting in the lobby for a few minutes and the front desk receptionist told me that 6 or 7 people already checked out early. And that drive to the airport, it seemed like it didn't end. I was so anxious. And when we were dropped off, we were dropped off at the wrong terminal and it was eerie. There was nobody there. I couldn't even find my flight on the board, and so eventually a worker told me that it's probably in Terminal 2. So when we got there, people started coming in. Our flight was listed on the board, but we couldn't go to a station to check our bags until a certain time. So we had to wait like 20, 25 minutes, and when the time came for us to check in our bags, there was already a flood of people. There was like this huge line of people, more than 100, waiting to check in their bags, and our flight was in less than 2 hours at that point. So we were worried. We thought we might not be able to make it onto our plane to Frankfurt to connect to LA. I mean, it was just so many emotions. I was really, really scared that I might not be able to get out.
I can imagine. And so the people around you, including yourself, are people wearing masks? Are you seeing people constantly sanitizing? How is the crowd, or how do the crowds act differently now than previously?
There weren't too many people wearing masks, and even we couldn't find masks to buy from the States prior to leaving for this trip. And every drugstore or grocery store we went to, they didn't have hand sanitizers left. That shelf was empty, and we checked at least like 4 or 5 while we were there. So, I had some hand sanitizers on hand because I had a couple from home. And, but besides that, people wearing masks, obviously, they didn't even want to talk to you. But there were others who were in line with me, and I got to interview them. And they were pretty much saying, like, we were like on alert, but this is crazy how things are happening so quickly, and this announcement could, pretty much change all of our lives in a matter of less than 24 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. Any quick advice to anyone that has to travel?
I would definitely say bring the hand sanitizer, bring the type of masks, though, a lot of people are wearing. I mean, it doesn't really do much to protect you. So I would say just research the type of masks you need to really protect yourself, and then also for travel points, right? Like if you have any credit card points or anything you can redeem, try to do that if you have like a last minute flight where you're in an area where flights are getting canceled. And otherwise, I mean, as much as you can, just avoid traveling. It's not a good time right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Christine, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of a sneak peek of what it's like out there in travel land.